Cyrus Meteor, Shaper Slam, Searing Exarch Ball Phase, no problem to this build. In this guide you will find out how to build your character to be that strong to tank almost anything in the game. What's up guys, Bridget here. Let's see what things we got on the damage side. Our skill choice is Temporal Chains. Because this skill doesn't dealing damage, we need to pair with Impending Doom Sopar Gem. When your curse expires on the target, it will trigger an explosion and this explosion is dealing chaos damage. We are adding to the mix Poison to deal more damage. We also need to use Vixen Entrampment Unique Gloves. Without this, the build doesn't work. These two things is the core of the build. You need socket your other curse spell inside these gloves, and it's important what curse you socket in the first place. You can choose here. You want more damage or more survivability. If you want more damage, socket Enfeeble here. Because the curse you socketing here, it will be overwritten every time when you cast another curse, triggering the Impending Doom. Or if you want more tankiness in the build, you can socket here Punishment. Impending Doom has a cooldown as well. To be able to deal more damage, you need to lower this number with cooldown recovery rate. You also need to match your current cooldown recovery rate with your cast speed. This maybe sounds hard or confusing. Even for me it was hard to understand. After a little research, I found a Google sheet with a calculator. On the first look, this could be intimidating, but this is very simple to use. Only 3 block is important to you: CDR, percentage action speed, and percentage cost speed. You can get this information from your path of building easily. CDR is standing for cooldown recovery. Just start adding together your CDR from your gear and jewels. In my build, I only have 12%, and that's from my belt. We input that here. Next is the action speed. I think this stats is coming from the boost implicits, and if you somehow you have tailwind or you play trickster. Right now I did not have any action speed modifier, so I just type 0 here. Percentage cost speed, you can get this stat from POB under Calc tab and select Temporal Chains, then check Attack/Cast Rate box. Inside this box you will find your increased cost speed. For me right now is 83%. Type that into the percentage increased cast speed box. You notice the numbers change. Under this section, you only need to pay attention on your cost speed line. For me 83%. If your Vixen cooldown wasted row is near to 0 and it's not red, you good to go, same as Blast cooldown. This is how you can calculate your CDR and cost speed. I will link you this in the description and you need to make a copy to your Google Drive. Our biggest and best multiplier is coming from a secondary source. We will inflict Wither on bosses, which is 90% chaos damage taken increase by default. Also we got an Ascendancy node that will increase the Wither effect and also give us chance to inflict Wither. Because the on hit doesn't have good uptime, we need to use Withering step. This will instantly add 6 stack Wither on the target. I'm also using the anomalous version, which will inflict 2 additional Wither and increasing the quality with enchant support. So with one single button we will inflict 9 stack Wither. That will ramp up our damage while the Doom Blast is also applying more stacks. This is why you can just set to 15 in the POB the Wither effect. When we cast a single time, we will trigger 3 other curses as well. This could be very mana hungry and you can sustain in boss fights or even in maps. So we need to reach 0 mana cost on every single curse. We are achieving this minus mana cost craft on rings and amulet. Reduce mana cost on the flask. With all of this, we can spam all day or spells. We have an Eternal Blessing setup as well to get more aura in the build. This aura will cost mana. Because I'm not using the old quality gems to reduce the mana cost to 0. Because of that, I need to use Eldritch Battery to able cast my Eternal Blessing aura. On the defensive side, let's start with my favorite part. We have Elemental Ailments immunity because we're using a unique jewel, Ancestral Vision. Spell Suppression also applying to chance to avoid Elemental Ailments and half of their value. And the rest is from the 3 Brute Implicits and the Signal Craft. The other best thing about this build, we almost converting all of the physical damage taken to elemental damage. We have 99% using Lightning Coil, that's alone 50%. A unique flask, namely Taste of Hate, 25%, because we have increased flask effect node allocated on the tree. 10% from our Watcher Eye, because we're using Brute of Lighting, and 14% from our helmet. Because we take that many damage as elemental, we can use all the elemental damage reduction flask, Ruby, Topaz, and the unique Sapphire flask, Taste of Hate. So we're using the damage we take from the physical damage that we converting to elemental damage. Using Petrified Blood. If you not use this aura before, this makes us unable to recover above 50% life without Life Flask. But for exchange, we will stagger percentage of the damage we take and it will deal to us over 4 seconds. We have insane recovery from our Ascendancy because with taking Pathfinder, we can use the Master Surgeon node. That will make our Life Flask still active if our life reaching full, making an extremely good with the Petrified Blood. From our Life Flask, we get almost 2k life regen alone, and this is up all the time. We are also raising our maximum elemental resistance above 75%. We are achieving this with a couple of things. I bought a corrupted lighting coil with plus 1% to all resistance. Don't worry, this is not cost more than 30c and you don't even need 6 link it. I just use it as a 4 link. You can use the crafting bench for 4 link it. You just need a few valor and fusing, so don't waste your money on tainted fusings. Using Purity of Lighting because we already take 66% of physical damage as lighting them, so this is free damage reduction for us. Using a single maximum lighting resistance tattoo, if I level one more time, I could get more in the build. On the boots, I'm using maximum fire resistance mod from Searing Exile because we don't need the increased action speed. With all of this, we're reaching 77% fire resistance, 76% core resistance, and 82% lighting resistance. I would like if you hit the like button like the Shaper hitting the Elder, so it can start spread to more people. Thank you. Using a few unique items in the build. Let's start with our weapon, Gain of Cooldown. You need these two mod, plus 3 to support gems, and increase chaos damage. Of course, you could get chaos damage overtime multiplier as well, but that's very expensive. So I got the cheaper version for 2 divine, because it was already 6 linked. Lighting Coil unique body armor with the corruption plus 1% to all maximum resistance. This was very cheap. I paid for mine 30c, and you don't have to 6 link it. Just use the crafting bench for it. You need a few valor to get the 4 link. The core of the build, without this item the build is not working, and that's the Vixen Entrampment unique gloves. The following implicits you can craft with the Eldritch currency. Spam till you get the following. On your helmet, percentage of physical damage taken as lighting damage. Do not get while there is a unique enemy nearby version, because that's not working on the Awakener Meteor phase, because for some reason the game doesn't recognize the Awakeners is above us. The other mod is Despair has increased curse effect. We have a helmet enchantment as well, increase Despair curse effect. On your boots, change to avoid elemental ailments and maximum fire resistance. In this build, I need to mention the crafts we using on our gear. On the rings and the amulet, you need the non-channeling skills have -7 to total mana cost. With this, we can use our spells freely. Also worth to mention our anointment is Skittering Runes. On the belt, cooldown recovery rate. On the boots, avoid elemental ailments. On the helmet, 8% of physical damage taken as fire damage. Before we starting the flask section, with Pathfinder you don't have to cap your resistance with your gear, because you will have 100% uptime on the resistance flasks, so you don't have to worry about capping your resistance with the gear, just your chaos resistance. Flasks we using is a Ruby, Topaz, a unique Sapphire flask, Taste of Hate, Quicksilver, and the Divine Life Flask. On the Utility Flask, you need to have this mod, reduce duration and increased effect. Pay attention when you rolling your flasks, because there is many mod combination with these two, but the duration reduce is even bigger, so your flask will not have 100% uptime. The submods on these two is reduce mana cost of skills. You can get this mod from the Betray mechanic when unveiling flask. On the other flask, additional elemental resistance. On your life flask needs this mod, increase the amount recovered, and this mod comes with a downside, reduce recovery rate. The sub mod is up to you, but I was lucky to hit this. Recover an additional percentage of flask's life recover amount over 10 seconds if you used while not on full life. This will be active even after you reach maximum life, so you have extra regen on the top of your life flask. Important to mention here, you can buy a life flask with increased quality for really cheap, so you have more recovery. Pantheons we using is the following. On boss fights, Soul of Solaris, and you need to upgrade 8% reduce elemental damage taken if you haven't been hit recently. This is came handy to tank the Sirius Meteor. Miner, Soul of Rislata. The low life part could be life-saving if you start panicking when your life drop below half. For mopping, I switch into Soul of Lunaris. Bandits, 2 passive point. I just want to highlight a few things on the passive tree that you need for the build. Using 8 passive cluster Jewel with Wicked Pole, Unweaving Evil, and Unholy Grace. 2 medium cluster with Brew for Potency, Septic Spells. The other, Fasting, Spike Concoction. Using 2 unique Jewel, namely Ancestral Vision, Spell Suppression also applying to chance to avoid elemental ailments at half of their value. Watcher Eye with percentage of physical damage taken as lighting damage while affected by Purity of Lighting. The rest of the Jewels is rare with life and chaos damage over time and aural damage. I bought Jewels with aural damage fractured and I used Harvest to reforge life till I hit the chaos damage and life. We using many tattoos, using 1 single spell suppression one here, 1 mana reservation here, 1 maximum lighting resistance here, the rest of the tattoos is maximum life. We taking Pathfinder as our Ascendancy. On your first lap, we take Nature Reprisal. I'm leveled with Toxic Rain, so this node was game changer in the early acts. Second lap, take Nature's Adrenaline. Now you generating flash charges. Third lap, take Master Toxicist. Last lap, Master Surgeon, your life flask is still active if you reached full life. Gem and Journey starting with our main link in our weapon, Temporal Chains, Awakened Void Manipulation, Spell Cascade, Awakened Unbound Elements, Awakened Deadly Elements, Impending Doom. In our gloves or curses, Punishment, Enfeeble, Despair, and Spell Cascade. In our helmet, Immortal Call with cast when damage taken, Ancient Support with Anomalous Withering Step. In our body armor, Purity of Lighting, Haste, Divenged Herald of Agony, Anomalous Petrified Blood. In our boots, Inspiration, Flame Dash, Malevolence, and Divine Blessing. I hope you enjoyed this video about Impending Doom Pathfinder. If you have any question, please leave a comments below. Also, I would like to thank you to my Patreons for supporting me. Thanks again, guys. Thanks for watching. I was Bridget. See you next time.